I think it's time to start freaking out about what we don't know about this Diddy situation.
There are reports that Diddy has a list of over 200 celebrities that could be humiliated by what he could reveal or worse. Could he take some of these people down with him if he were to testify? And it's everyone, politicians, musicians, models, movie stars. There will be a lot of nervous people.
Amid facing a staggering amount of new sexual assault allegations, Sha Diddycombes is prepping for the trial of his life and assembling his own version of a dream team to take on the federal prosecutors in his sex trafficking case.
Things have taken a nasty turn in the tumultuous world of the Joe Rogan Experience in recent episodes as Rogan and his guests dug into the scandal involving Sha Diddycombes. The story that began as internet rumors about Diddy's wild parties and possible shady dealings has now escalated into a full-blown legal crisis. Diddy has been arrested, and the majority of the allegations against him have been verified. The accusations against Diddy go beyond just his extravagant party throwing. They also claim that he was running an Epstein-Style operation where models, celebrities, and influencers were filmed in potentially embarrassing positions for blackmail.
The case against Sha Combs might as well just be called the freak-offs. These allegedly illegal freak-offs. It's all about the freak-offs in one way, shape, or form.
Freak-offs?
Freak-offs.
Freak-offs. Freak-offs.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Prosecutors say that these were elaborately produced events, bringing lighting in, cameras, linens.
Prosecutors said he would masturbate during these freak-offs, and women had no choice.
Alleged drug-fueled orgies, prostitution, and a cover-up. Freak-offs, as they're called, at the core of a searing 3-count federal indictment against Sha Diddycombes.
Sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, interstate transportation for prostitution.
Now a look at the charges that threatened to end his career and his freedom. Inside the fall from grace from the powerful impresario. A reckoning that some say is long overdue.
He says, oh, I'm hip-hop. Yeah, well, you know what? Hip-hop deserves...
Though Rogan did not provide a comprehensive list of individuals who may have been involved in Diddy's infamous freakouts, the discussion touched on the implications of this for the larger celebrity ecosystem.
Celebrity interviews are also resurfacing and revealing more about Diddy's alleged conduct. In 2016, singer Usher, who had previously lived with Diddy when he was a teenager, told radio personality Howard Stern very curious things took place at Diddy's so-called Puffy Flavor camp. Usher, who was around 13 at the time, had moved to New York City and lived with Diddy, who was going by Puff Daddy, for a year. The idea to live with Diddy came from L.A. Reid, who was Usher's manager. Usher said he went to live with Diddy for a chance to see the lifestyle and referred to the time period as a wild and crazy time in the 90s. And in a 2004 interview with Rolling Stone, Usher was quoted as saying, "Puff introduced me to a totally different set of stuff, sex specifically. Sex is so hot in the industry. There was always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it or several people in a room having an orgy. You never know what was going to happen." But in 2016, when Stern asked whether Puffy's place was filled with chicks and orgying nonstop, Usher responded, not really. Usher said very curious things took place there that he didn't necessarily understand. But as for if it would be a place Usher would consider sending his children to, this is what he had to say.
What a life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
His arrest followed a protracted period of circulating claims of what actually transpired during his infamous freak parties. These weren't your typical Hollywood parties. Instead, they were multi-day affairs complete with drug use, prostitution, and other purportedly illicit activities.
Sha Diddycombes of sexual assault in a lawsuit.
It's important to note that Diddy's white parties are not mentioned in the 3-count indictment the federal government levied against Combs.
Forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
However, distressing accusations have surfaced, including one from Adria English, an exotic dancer and adult film performer who was hired by Diddy to work a series of white parties in the mid to late 2000s. She sued Diddy, alleging that the music magnate asked her to wear a black dress to signal her availability for intimate encounters. She also asserts that she was plied with several substances and made to be a, quote, sexual pawn.
In the complaint, she accuses Combs and other defendants of using her as, quote, a sexual pawn.
Recording artist Jay Blaze says he attended the 2009 white party, but notes that he grew uncomfortable as the night went on. He allegedly saw inebriated men mistreat models in the pool, adding that no one intervened. These accusations have led to a reappraisal of the white parties in light.
Prosecutors have presented a horrifying image of Diddy as the kingpin of revelry, wherein both male and female guests were purportedly forced into sexual acts, some of which were recorded, raising suspicions that he may have used the video to intimidate and blackmail influential figures in the entertainment business.
They also uncovered videos of elaborately produced sex performances with multiple victims that Combs allegedly referred to as freak-offs.
At the center of the current charges laid against Combs are so-called freak-off performance parties. Prosecutors describe these X-rated events as, quote, elaborate and produced performances featuring adult workers, which Combs allegedly organized, directed, and recorded for his own gratification.
He's accused of trafficking women and male sex workers to perform depraved freak-offs, drug-fueled sex parties for his own twisted enjoyment.
Freak-offs, which often lasted several days, were held in secret. Many were said to have taken place after Diddy's white parties. It's reported that once the bulk of A-list guests departed, the freak-offs would often begin in back rooms. These events included male and female sex workers. It's also purported that there was heightened security and staff to—
Rogan didn't hold back during his talk, highlighting how bizarre it is that so many influential people are now involved in this scandal. He even made a comparison between Diddy's operation and the notorious Epstein scandal, in which prominent visitors were videotaped at parties in case they were used as blackmail.
Hands around it. And I've never had a situation where we've got the big name. Sean, Diddy, whatever. I know he's changed his nickname like a million times, but I kind of know why. This guy's been in the reinvention of badness business for a really long time, evidently. So if we have him, why does it seem that the story is still much bigger? Now, at first, I wrote it off as the boogeyman principle, like with Epstein. You know, you don't get the full story on Epstein. It is much more provocative to say someone killed him because of exactly what I'm talking about with Diddy, that there had to be more, right? Because remember what the commodity is. The commodity is as old as society, which is the power brokers, the establishment, the elite, whatever you want to call them. They used to be called the bourgeoisie, okay? Every society has gone through this, that there are people in power that you don't know about that have the hand.
The result is the same, a tangled web of control, manipulation, and power. Rogan speculated that Diddy might have been employing similar strategies, throwing wild parties, getting people drunk, and then filming everything, either for blackmail or just for his own collection of insane footage.
In a way, but more troubling on a level. How? Epstein, Weinstein, Diddy. What is the common thread? People with power through access, wealth, which helps connect to power, who are able to do shit that we find not only frightening and disgusting and illegal, but perverse. And the perversity matters. Weinstein is not just allegedly another rapist, but it was a culture. You know, the casting couch, you know, we've all heard of that. This is what makes that boogeyman so real. And there are two added layers. One is, and everybody knows, and there are a lot of people that you know and care about, but they've never told you, right? And then there is this, and it's always been okay. And
the most unsettling thing about Diddy's actions is that he wasn't acting alone. It has been established that he had team managers, assistants, and security to help oversee his free-offs and make sure everything ran smoothly. This included hiring men and women as prostitutes, ensuring that the hotel rooms were adequately stocked, and most terrifying of all, apparently assisting Diddy in hiding the more sinister aspects of these parties.
Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. So according to federal prosecutors, Diddy's associates and members of the so-called Combs enterprise are the ones who helped arrange for these illegal freak-offs. The indictment goes on to say members and associates of the Combs enterprise enabled Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to the victims, advancing or suppressing the victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep the victims compliant. It also alleges these associates knew of Diddy's physical brutality to these survivors and would help Diddy conceal this by hiding these victims in hotel rooms waiting for their injuries to heal. At times, these associates allegedly tracked down any victims attempting to leave Diddy and then forced them to stay. Federal prosecutors allege these associates showed a willingness to conceal crimes and are guilty of a laundry list of crimes, including preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of the Combs enterprise, including the power of its leader, Combs, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical.
Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura made one particularly damaging allegation in a lawsuit that sparked a flurry of investigations.